Right, okay, real quick video just to explain how I got my RPG Maker, no, RPG Architect game to look how it does. that's a good start, isn't it? I made 2 mistakes already. Okay, let's get the game loaded up and I'll go find a good spot to use as an example. We'll come up here. So, as you can see, this is how it's looking now. It's looking all like, it looks like it could be pixel art, but it is rendering in 3D. This is orthographic projection, so there's no perspective. Things far away look just as close as things near, which does add some complications, but it gives this cool 2D looking effect. I've got dynamic shadows. I can change the time of day and the shadows all change. We've got these... let's zoom in. No, I'll change it. Let's have a look how things started off. And this is the kind of thing I think people were talking about in Discord. If I go to 1080. Right, okay. Let's zoom back in. So at first I had got my pixel art, which is drawn on a 24 by 24 grid. And it looks okay in some spots, but you can see like by here on the floor, because of the viewing angle, we're looking at like a 45-degree angle roughly. The pixels on the floor are all squished. You can see they're not the same size as the pixels of the character. Got anything that's placed diagonally in 3D space, having these sharp angles, just cutting across the pixels, ruining the pixel art effect. The shadows are all soft and don't conform to the pixel size. And we've got this 3D object thing by here, which again just looks like it's a totally different resolution from the pixel art game. So, and there are advantages to this. Main one being you can zoom right in and it looks just about the same as if you zoom all the way out, and you don't really lose much detail for quite a long time. And that's quite cool. So there are advantages to keeping it like this, and it is a style that you could use, it'd be fine. But I work with pixel art mainly, and it was bothering me. So I reduced the resolution of the game. So let's change it to how it is now. To this. So the internal resolution of the game is now much lower, and it matches the pixel scaling of my pixel art. I'll tell you how I work that out in a minute, but you can see now this diagonal bit here. Let's zoom in on here. Look, the pixels are all the same size as my character here. This 3D object here looks like it could just be pixel art, but it's 3D. And I'm quite happy with how it looks. The shadows as well conform to the pixel size. You can see that they're soft shadows, but they are pixel perfect. And yeah, it's pretty cool. And I can even have a 3D object like this, and I could rotate it anyway, and it'll still appear as kind of pixel art. In fact, I can show you the game rotating right now. So that still looks like pixel art by there. But as you saw, that is a genuine 3D object by here, which is quite cool. I thought that's quite a cool effect to have. How did I get it looking like this? So, this is running my aspect ratio. This is ultra wide. So this is 21:9 aspect ratio, but you could use the same principle. Well, in fact, if we go on here, we can go to widescreen, and now this is 16:9. So you could, like, it was easy enough to work out both. I worked this out by deciding how many tiles I wanted to be visible on the screen at a time. So let's do this in 21:9, just because I know the maths a bit better. So we have 21 tiles on screen at the moment, and I chose 21 tiles just to match the aspect ratio because I thought that would be easy numbers to work with to test it, and I like the results, so I just kept it like this. So you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 tiles. Horizontally, that is fine. And to keep the ratio consistent, I worked it out as if I was having 9 tiles up. But of course, because we're looking at this from an angle, my vertical tiles are a bit squished, but I'll come back to that in a minute. First of all, let's hop over here. So, why does my mouse not work? This is our screen. 21 by 9 aspect ratio. And like I said, I thought let's just try putting 21 tiles horizontally. My tiles are 24 pixels wide. My tile size is 24 by 24. So change this to whatever you would be using. So I just did that, and that comes out as 216 and 504. And so this became my resolution. So let's hop back over to get rid of you a minute. Let's have a look at my settings. Zoom in a bit for you. So 504 by 216. That is my game's resolution. It's still the correct aspect ratio, so you can scale up to full screen. It looks fine. If you wanted to do 16 by 9, you just times it by 16 rather than 21. Camera distance of 50. I'm using that. I think that was just trial and error. Yeah, I think that was just trial and error. So just try that and see if that works for you. I'm doing a camera distance of 50 and a scale of 2. That scales the pixel up to twice the size. So I think you could do scale of 1 and camera distance of 25. I think it would work. It would look about the same. The reason I've got 50 is to move the camera further back, because if it was a bit close, there's a lot of verticality in my game, and I found the camera was clipping into buildings and making things invisible, so I wanted to keep it far away so it wasn't clipping into anything. 3D space is a bit tricky sometimes. Cell size, I don't know what that does. No idea. It's 10. Don't know if that's important. Orthographic projection, that's what I'm using. That does this kind of fake 2D style. I really like it. I'm using a viewport. Where does it say? Yeah, enable viewport resolution up here. And I'm using 1080 by 2560. That's just so when I launch the game, it is at that resolution. You could probably not do that and just use that resolution. At the moment, I'm just using it for convenience because it renders it nice and big on my screen. That's something I'm going to worry about later, what I should do here. I'm not sure what best practices are. Enable lighting. That's enabling my dynamic lighting. I can show you what lighting settings I have. That was a bit confusing to go through, but you could probably get it from trial and error. Field of view, don't know if that's important. Render distance and fog as well. I'm using, I'll show you that in a minute actually for a specific reason. I wanted the fog in there to add a bit of fake depth to the game, so I'll show you that now actually. And the pitch is 118. That's like the viewing angle, if you imagine. So I'll show you that as well before we go. This stuff I haven't touched. That's just default stuff. So let's show you the two things I wanted to mention then. Jump back in the game. So the render distance and the fog I use to, if you look at the water down here, ignore that person flying off, I don't know what that's about. You can see it kind of fades away and it gives this nice depth kind of feel to the game, which is, you wouldn't have normally. And that's just because that's the render distance. I messed around with it until I kind of got that effect. You might not need that, but I've got this game on these forts with this water far down below. What's quite cool as well, if you jump down in here, because you're close to the water then. It doesn't look any different, but the fog goes away because the camera's closer. Kind of cool. And the other thing I wanted to show you was the pitch of the game, which is kind of like the viewing angle. So I can change that now. Let's get my debug thing up. Let's get it to a place where you can read it. There we go. So if I change the pitch, you can see how weird things look and how the illusion is broken. I'm like very specifically designing the game to be viewed from this angle. You view it from any other angle and it just starts to look really weird. So if we go completely top down, you can see everything is getting kind of squished up. Looks really strange because there's no perspective on anything. Looks really weird. Kind of cool to see though. But this is the other thing I wanted to mention. All of my pixel art, you can see from actually this angle. This is my art, my tiles like that. They're not that squished. That's kind of how I'm drawing them. But from the viewing angle of the game, all of this pixel art is getting squished and distorted, which is something I've just had to work with. I've decided to simplify my art and just kind of embrace this and just kind of live with it. But yeah, my art is getting distorted. Even my character here at this angle now is quite distorted. I'm kind of learning to work around it, but if you're really fussy about your pixel art, this might be a problem for you. Let's flatten things right out, get the pitch right down. You can see, as a frame of reference, my pitch is just up here. So yeah, that's pretty much how I draw my pixel art. You can see how it renders in the game from this angle is quite distorted. And like I said, I'm just going to deal with that and live with it. But it is a problem you have to kind of work around. And that's pretty much everything. The only other thing... What other problems have I encountered? One other thing. Because these tiles are squished vertically, it's actually quite a long distance back and forth here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 tiles. That's the same distance as walking that far. So what you might find is when you do this normally, if you kind of set this kind of thing up, your character will move quite slowly vertically up and down the screen. And what I've done somewhere, did I do this? Please don't judge all of this. This is just this is all setup stuff, testing stuff. I've actually kind of cheated, and the Z value is up and down the screen because Y is kind of if X is left to right, Z is up and down, and then Y is like up in and down in 3D space. So upon launching the game, I run this little global command. I set my X value to 300%, and that's just the kind of speed that works for the game. But I've set the Z value to 500% just to move the character vertically across the screen a bit quicker. I tell you what, let me show you what I'm talking about. If I have these equal, as the engine would normally do, as you normally would do, you can see that everything feels fine. Everything is fine. I'm doing that somewhere else, aren't I? Yes, I'm doing that here as well. Right, you've got the same movement speed on the X and Z plane. You can see, look how slow you move up and down. It feels really sluggish. And technically you are moving 2 tiles up and down at the same speed as 2 tiles left and right, but it feels wrong. It just feels wrong. And so I've changed it to 500 and that just felt right. I don't know what the implications of that will be further down the line, but that's a problem I hit pretty quick. And that was my solution to it. I don't know if that's best practice, but it just feels okay. Sometimes you've just kind of got to do these things by how they feel. At the end of the day, orthographic projection like this, making it kind of like a 2D game with 3D style, is an illusion. So you've kind of got to use weird hacks like that. Anyway, I think that's everything I've got to kind of talk about. Any questions, let me know. One last thing, that's quite fun. I'll show you how my interior rooms work, because I think that's quite cool. So this is an interior. It looks like just a normal kind of 2D game interior, a bit bare bones. I need to kind of add like some roof tiles and stuff or whatever. But the cool thing, because it's 3D, zoom in. This hatch is 3D. You can go down there. This hole in the wall is actually 3D. And you can see like water through there. And how this is set up in Engine, just to give you an idea of like how this is all working behind the scenes. If we rotate it, it's literally, I've just got some water down here with a spotlight on it, creating this cool illusion of like seeing light through the gap. And yeah, because it's 3D, you can do cool things like you can just fall down there, make the game teleport you out to wherever the hell you're meant to go. Yep, I think that's got everything I've got to mention. I hope this wasn't too long. A bit self-indulgent maybe, but never mind. Hope it helps anyway. Any questions, let me know. Bye-bye.